Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Two of Them with myself, Bhargav and Sankalpuram. Few weeks back, it was clay, and now it's grass. Wimbledon is back after a hiatus of 1 year, and tennis fans are very much excited. It was the first time since World War II Wimbledon did not happen last year because of COVID. And for French Open, we had one of our closest friends, Vamsi, a Djokovic fan. Most of our predictions for French Open were correct, except the Nadal one though. Do check out here for a crazy fun talk. And this time we are with another close friend who is a huge Serena fan and Federer fan as well. Firstly, he's a very good player of tennis. Had he chosen tennis as his career path, he would have been representing India and would have brought a lot of glory to the country. And I'm not at all exaggerating here. Here we have Kiran Samayam. Hey Kiran, how are you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on your show, and I'm really excited and looking forward to analyzing the men's draw with you guys.
Uh,
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Kiran. And just to add to whatever Bhargav said, he's he was such a good player, and he's still such a good player. And when we were doing our undergrads, me and Vamshi used to, just play tennis for fun, and then we used to rally against Kiran, and we used to go back home crying because it was that bad. Like he literally never used to give even 1 point, and even if he gives, he basically misses a line. That's when we used to get a point out of him. So yeah, I'm sure, like, had he chosen to pursue tennis as his career, and he would have definitely, been one of the top players in the world, and could have got a lot of glory to India. I'm sure he would have done that. So yeah, it's great to have you here, Kiran.
Thanks, Kiran, for being here. So, first things first. As we already said, we are moving from clay to grass. Kiran, share your experience of how different or how difficult it will be uh, that transition from clay to grass.
Yeah, so I think it's a very different surface overall. Obviously, clay court, the rallies are much longer, the ball is a little slower, there's more opportunity for top spin, whereas on grass, it's a player that favors the harder hitters, as the saying goes, like the big servers have a huge advantage on graphs. So making that transition within 3 weeks of time is something that is difficult for players. But
Yeah.
I think we've had an additional tournament also added this year. So I think the players are prepared, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Just to add to that, so what I like the transition, right? Like when you see all these clay players doing a grueling, grueling rallies and very long rallies to, very, very short points. And, the surfboards are just gonna, like, win points within, like, win a game in like a minute. With all four aces probably. So it's a big transition. And this year, another thing just happened is that, French Open got shifted by a week, which actually reduced the time between French Open and Wimbledon. So essentially, it's even harder this year for the transition. And considering that it was not played last year, none of the grass tournaments were played last year, also has, it will take a lot of time for players to get adjusted. So yeah, so a lot of factors will definitely come into play, especially for people who have done very well in play. For them to transition, it's going to be very hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's get into each of it clearly. So, like we did in French Open, let's also do the same thing by going through each quarter from the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here is
So
the first quarter.
yeah, before we get into this first quarter, this is Djokovic's quarter, right?
Yeah,
And so one of the things is that, out of the big three, only two are playing. One is Djokovic, the other is Federer. So Nadal has chosen not to play Wimbledon as well as Olympics. So it's almost like, we have only two people, and, one Federer is probably not in his best form coming into Wimbledon, and Djokovic is probably he's in this form of his life. So one of the things that Djokovic has at stake, there is a lot of history at stake in this Wimbledon. First of all, 20th Grand Slam, which makes him equal to Federer and Nadal, 2020. And then winning winning Wimbledon after French Open, right? Which is called the Channel Slam. And it's also very difficult, like, for the fact that we have just spoken that transitioning from French to Wimbledon is not at all easy. So that is the reason there is very few people. It's an elusive club of 4 people who have actually achieved winning French Open and Wimbledon. So yeah, a lot of things are at stake, and calendar Grand Slam. Considering he has won the first 2, and he is the favorite to win the next 2, there is a high potential of him achieving the calendar Slam along with the Golden Slam, with Olympics also being this year. So yeah, a lot of history is at stake for Djokovic for sure. I mean, he is used to this kind of pressure, right? I mean, he has always been used to this kind of pressure. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how Djokovic will handle this kind of pressure, considering there is so much at stake for him. So yeah, what do you think, Kiran? Like, how do you
Yeah,
think
no,
Djokovic?
I actually totally agree with you. I mean, obviously, like, he's very well aware that he's going for so many records. Not only is he trying to match Nadal and Federer in terms of Grand Slam count, but as you mentioned, he's also going for the Channel Grand Slam, a career Grand Slam, a career Golden Grand Slam, because this happens to be the year of the Olympics. So
Yeah,
definitely, I'm sure that all these thoughts are in his mind. But as you mentioned, I don't think there's anyone better than Djokovic who can handle pressure.
yeah,
And that was clearly evident in the French Open final when he's come back from 2 sets to down love, which we know is not an easy thing for a tennis player because of
yeah.
all the emotions and things like that. So if anyone can handle pressure, it is Novak Djokovic. And I think it's really difficult to see past him for the Wimbledon. So I guess the fortnight will tell us how he handles that pressure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, you guys have summed it up for the final already, but we are still talking about the quarters though. So
yeah,
let's go slowly through each of the quarters. So
yeah.
first, who do you think the early popcorn in this first quarter will be? Match?
Early popcorn. Hmm. Uh, yeah. I kind of like um, Fuskovics and Sinner. And Djokovic Draper is one of them for sure. I also think that Fuskovic Sinner should be an interesting match because Sinner is a great clay player, as well as he has a great serve. So I think Fuskovic and Sinner could be an interesting match. But yeah, I think Djokovic Draper is alongside with definitely Sinner's match. So what do you think, Kiran?
Yeah, I think just having a first glance at the first quarter, I think the match that sticks out the most to me is definitely Djokovic and Draper. And the reason
Yeah.
why I say that is because so Draper, not only has he had good results in the past week, but he's also a local favorite in Britain.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you guys have come across this meme. So tennis fans are divided into 3 categories. So they're either Roger Federer's fans, Rafael Nadal fans, or anyone who plays against
Against them.
Djokovic. Because uh, the crowd always seems to be against Djokovic, irrespective of how much he achieves and how much of a great player he is. So Djokovic is going to come into that match knowing that the crowd is not going to be on his side, as he's probably used to it. But again, home support is something else. And considering Draper has been in good form, I think that's definitely one of the matches that stands out. Um, to me. I think another match, not really a popcorn match, but something that might be interesting to watch is Fabio Fognini and Ramos Vinolas, just
yeah,
because both of them are very good clay court players. So just to adapt to grass to see how that match might be. And, any match with Fognini is filled with antics, drama, and things like that. So I
yeah,
think that might be another good match to watch out for in this quarter.
yeah. Absolutely. Like Fonini always, Fonini has the game. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I mean, his clay court game is like really good, but he can always surprise with his shot making ability. So yeah, that should be an interesting match too.
Yeah, yeah. Who do you think the dark horse of this first quarter? Shankar?
Uh I mean, that's a tough one. I don't like really see anyone like, being a dark horse. So when I look at this quarter, right, there is Djokovic, there is Anderson, and then probably Kudla. Apart from these three people, this draw is essentially filled with a lot of clay court players. I mean, the one of the examples Kiran also gave, like Fonini and Ramos Vinolas, Kiowas. You have yeah, right. So all of these players are really good on clay, but then I'm sure they would be very like it's not at all going to be easy case for them in Wimbledon. So yeah, I mean it's Djokovic. I mean Djokovic is also one of the best clay court players. So this draw looks like a clay court clay court quarters. But yeah, I mean it's very hard to pick one person. Then if I have to pick one, then I have to go with maybe Kudla. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just that he might play against Djokovic in the third round, which should be a good result for him.
What about you, Kiran?
I guess as Sankalp mentioned, it's really difficult to pick a dark horse because Djokovic seems like a clear favorite, and then Rublev obviously follows. He's been he was in the finals last week. He lost a close contested final. But if I had to pick one person, even despite him being seeded, I'll have to go with Monfils because we know what he's capable of achieving. But off late, I know he's been struggling to find motivation. There have been some changes in his personal life, like he's gotten engaged recently and things like
Yeah.
that. So I don't know how much more motivated he is to perform on the tennis court, but if I had to pick one person, I would go with Monfils because we know what he's capable of achieving.
Yeah,
Yeah, things look very settled for Monfils. I'm sure it's very hard for him to find motivation now.
yeah, but I differ
Yeah.
there both of you because I strongly feel Seppi will be the dark horse of this quarter. So
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for
We
for some context, guys, when we were back in undergrad, Bhargav was a huge fan of Seppi, and I think that year he'd also performed well in the Australian Open. And I'm talking about like 2012 to 2016. That's when we did our undergrad, and
yeah.
whenever we used to play online tennis games, Seppi was Bhargav's character choice. So I think that's an emotional or a biased choice of Bhargav to pick Seppi.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so,
Yeah, I mean, he is definitely one of the best players, I'm sure,
yeah, from Italy. Yeah.
in Italy.
So, yeah, moving forward. So who do you think which will be the upset alert, because we know Wimbledon is famous for upsets. Who do you think will be an upset alert? Just
Yeah, that's also, I mean, that's kind of straightforward in this case, is because you have so many clay court players, right? Like
yeah,
if you have Squatterman who seeded, Sinner, and then Monfils. So yeah, I mean, my choice would be Monfils. I feel like, like Kiran was saying, there's always a possibility that, he has been under injuries and has not been playing too well. So I feel like Monfils could have a bad, Wimbledon.
okay. What about you,
For
Kiran?
me, Rublev is a strong contestant, but I don't know. I think he has like he might not be the best grass court mover, and with Sinner and Schwartzman also in his draw, I think Rublev mi- is a potential candidate to be upset before the quarterfinals. Just because Sinner's also been doing really well this year, so maybe Rublev, but also you can never tell because he has the guns, like he's extremely powerful, which suits grass. So
Yeah,
it's hard to pick, but I want to say Rublev.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. So finally, quarterfinals matchup in this quarter.
Another tricky question. Like this quarter is very difficult. I would go with the top two seeds here, Djokovic and Rublev. I feel like Rublev will somehow go through his draw. If his draw has his path to quarterfinals has a lot of clay court players. So I feel like I feel like he has if he gets he gets going in the first round, then he has a good chance to reach quarterfinal. So yeah, Djokovic versus Rublev, and and Djokovic in 3 sets.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting episode for me because both of you are on opposite sides for Monfils and Rublev. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, yeah, let's
Kiran,
go to the second quarter though. Yeah.
Kiran, what is your pick for
Oh,
Yeah,
quarters?
I would like to see how Rublev does in the initial few rounds. I think the initial few rounds are like, the nerve-wracking rounds, like to see how your
Yeah,
nerves sort of settle down. But if
yeah,
Rublev does have a momentum going, I agree that it will be, I think it's pretty straightforward. It'll be Djokovic versus Rublev, and Djokovic will come through that.
yeah.
If not, my second pick would be Djokovic versus Sinner. And again, I see Djokovic coming through that, but
Yeah, straight
yeah.
sets.
I
So
think
I mean,
this good quarter is pretty straightforward.
this quarters is pretty straightforward. Yeah, let's go to the second quarters now.
yeah. So let's start
Yeah,
with early popcorn.
yeah. Um a lot of interesting. I mean, this is Sissipas's quarter, and Sissipas himself has a very tough first round. So Sissipas versus Taifu is definitely my pick for early popcorn. Should be an interesting match. Taifu has is a very interesting character. I really like his antiques, and he can always surprise with his game. So yeah, I am very curious to see how Sissipas plays against Taifu.
Interesting. Kiran.
So for me, this quarter, like there's a couple matches which I think we should keep our eye out on. As Sankalp mentioned, Tsitsipas versus Tiafoe is a really good match because I think Tiafoe was seeded, but because of his recent performance, like he happens not to be seeded in this tournament. But I think that's a really good match. Both are young, both have a lot of potential. We known that, and I think we've seen both of them in the Hopman Cup when Hopman Cup was a thing. So
Yeah,
they definitely have the potential to perform. So that's
yeah,
definitely a good match. I think Evans versus Lopez is another good match for the first round matches because we know that Feliciano Lopez also, I think he won Queen's tournament a couple years ago, so he can definitely play on grass as well. And Dan Evans, obviously another local favorite, so that's going to be an interesting match. But
yeah,
another match which really stands out for me is Sebastian Corda versus Alex de Minaur.
yeah.
Both of them are sort of like next gen stars. They're very young. Alex de Minaur, we know, won Eastbourne last week,
Yes.
so he's coming in on a high. Sebastian Corda also won a tournament. So I think he definitely has the potential as well. So yeah, those two are my big matches, but I think London or like people from England, the match they would want to keep a eye out on is obviously Andy Murray
Andy
versus
Murray.
Nicholas Basilashvili because Murray with his hip struggles, with his injury struggles, it's not been an easy path for him back.
Yeah.
And Basilashvili is no less. He's a great player. He beat Federer this year, right?
Yeah. He did. He did.
Right? He did, right? Yeah. So he beat
Yeah.
Federer this year. I think he's also won a tournament this year. He's
Yeah.
reached the semifinals in a grass court tournament last week. So he's definitely coming in with good form too. So I think when you talk about popcorn matches, probably the second quarter has the most interesting matches, at least first round matchups.
Yeah. This
And
quarter is filled with a lot of
I don't
interesting
think we
first
can
round matches.
ignore Shapovalov and Philip Kohlschreiber also. Philip Kohlschreiber is a established veteran,
Yeah.
and Shapovalov we know is another next gen rising star. He didn't play the French Open, so I'm sure he's more eager to perform and show his potential in Wimbledon. So yeah, this quarter seems to have a lot of interesting matches.
Yeah.
So yeah, there must be a dark horse among these
Yeah.
players.
So for me, like like Kiran also said, right? Like Corda versus de Minaur. It's de Minaur has won the Eastbourne, and Corda is playing really well. So I feel like Corda could be that dark horse because of his form. I feel like he has a very good chance. So yeah, for me, he is the dark horse of this quarter.
Kiran?
Uh, I agree. Quada is a really great player, but for me, my dark horse is going to be Riley Opelka, standing at 6 feet 10 inches, the tallest tennis player, probably hitting the most number of aces now since we haven't seen Karlovic in a long time.
Yeah,
As we mentioned in the introduction, that grass really favors big servers, and with the number of aces he hits and with his serve, I think he has the potential to do some damage. So for me, I'm going to go with Riley Opelka.
Okay, great. Uh, Upset alerts.
uh, yeah. Upset alert. I have to unfortunately pick Dan Evans. So the reason is, Lopez. Lopez. I've seen him perform really well in the grass tournaments a couple of years ago, and I feel like he definitely, has that potential to upset Dan Evans. So yeah, for me, like, that match between Evans and Lopez, I feel like Lopez will go through.
Okay.
Um, for me, upset alert. I'd probably, the British people would hate me for saying this, but I think it'd have to be Andy Murray, even though he's not seeded.
Yeah,
He was part of, he's the next contender for the big three. He was always the next contender for the big three for a long time.
yeah,
So I think I don't think he has enough matches under his belt. I think he's definitely lacking that match practice, and Basilashvili with his performance this year, which has been considerably good. I think Murray, I don't see him progressing through far to the draw. And
yeah.
many people, excuse me, many people say Batista Agut is very underrated, and he is seeded 8 here. Going by rankings, you're going to say that, the projected quarterfinalist Tsitsipas versus Batista Agut, but maybe not in the first round, but I don't see Batista Agut progressing too far either. So I think he's definitely going to get upset too.
Okay.
Yeah, Kiran is going for it in this quarter for sure with all his predictions. So I mean, I totally agree with Murray. It's really sad to see him, being even considered, not considered a seed is one thing, but being considered like he'll lose in the first round, which is, I mean, he's a two-time Wimbledon champion, and which is not an easy thing to achieve, and so yeah, I mean, it's really sad to see him. I hope he makes his comeback, and this is just one of the tournaments that he uses as an opportunity to have his comeback. Would really love to see him play well, but yeah, I have to agree that Murray is probably going to be an upset alert.
With you guys removing the big players, uh, who do you think the quarters matchup will
Hmm. I feel like Tsitsipas versus Shapovalov, considering the form Shapovalov is in, and Tsitsipas has, I mean, Tsitsipas is like I've seen him being mentally strong. I expect the early tough rounds, but once he gets through those early rounds, I'm sure like he'll have a deep run. So I'm expecting a Tsitsipas versus Shapovalov, and Tsitsipas taking it in 4 sets.
Yeah, I think despite Tsitsipas, I don't think he's played a grass court warm-up tournament coming into Wimbledon, but he is gonna be. I think he took a wild card to play doubles alongside his brother, so I think definitely playing singles and doubles is gonna give him the match practice he needs to perform really well in singles. So I see Tsitsipas coming through. And I think he'll be motivated than ever because he seemed visibly upset after the French Open final. So I think he wants to prove himself. So Tsitsipas
Yeah,
definitely. And then on this side, I think I'll have to agree with Sankalp. I think Shapovalov has been playing really well of late. So yeah, I think Shapovalov is going to come through. If not Shapovalov, my second pick would be Opelka because of
yeah,
the big serve. But I see
yeah.
Tsitsipas coming through this quarter.
I'm sure Opelka will be having a lot of pressure to perform here because everyone is expecting Opelka to do well. The sinners in the Opelkas are like considered to be like someone who will do really well in Wimbledon. So I'm sure Opelka will be feeling that pressure. And he seems to have a decent draw. So if he can, like, I'm expecting him to reach fourth round for sure. It will be a tough fight between Shapovalov and Opelka. Like you said, like either of them is gonna make it to quarters.
Interesting that you guys have agreed on at least one thing today. So yeah, let's slip into the third quarter and let's start with the late popcorns here.
Yeah. So I am very curious to see how Curious plays. He's playing after a long break. He's not played for almost like a year and a half since the pandemic started, and I mean he's back to his favorite tournament, which is Wimbledon, and it's going to be really curious to see how Curious plays against Humbert. And so yeah, that's definitely my early popcorn. And he I mean Curious always brings his best game. To see him be here is going to be very interesting. So yeah, that's my pick. What about you, Kiran?
Yeah, I think for sure it's Kyrgios versus Ugo Humbert, because Humbert, we know, is off a high. He won a tournament in Federer's been winning that tournament for a long time. Halle and
Hale.
Humbert won that recently, so I think he's definitely coming in with a high. And Nick Kyrgios is obviously returning to professional tennis after quite a long gap. So and I think grass also suits his game, so that'll be a really good one. I think another good one in this quarter is Nishikori versus Popyrin. I know Nishikori has also been playing well of late, and
Yeah.
Alex Popyrin, like we've seen in the first round of French Open, I guess he actually was leading in the third set against Nadal, but unfortunately he lost it. So yeah, those are my two popcorn matches for this quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. So dark horses. Anyone here?
Yeah. Uh, I have uh, I have Ilya. I'm not able to find it somehow. I know he's somewhere here. Yeah. Iveshka. Yeah. Ilya Iveshka will be, my pick for dark horse. I mean, he definitely plays great, and I'm expecting him to have a good, good Wimbledon. I mean, like he has a very good chance because of the fact that a lot of those players who are playing in his quarter have either are like very young, or they're very good at clay court. So yeah, I'm expecting him to have a decent show in Wimbledon.
For me, I'd have to go with Nishikori. I think he's been playing well of late, and he is a seasoned player. We know that he has had his share of injury struggles throughout his career, but I would want to see him doing well, and I think he does have the potential. So I'll go with Nishikori.
Yeah. So it essentially makes it that either of us might get it right. It's not that both of. I'm sure both of us. There's no chance we'll get it right because they're probably gonna face each other in third round.
Right.
Iveshka and Nishikori, if they make it to third round. So yeah.
Uh, upset alert. So do you think that?
So yeah, I mean, like a lot of players in Wimbledon can be up. They can lose in the first round or second round. I have my feeling that Karatsev is one player who might lose in the first round probably, or in the second round, considering of picking Ilya Ivashka. So yeah, Karatsev is the pick for me to he's the upset alert.
Yeah, even though Karetsev has had a good season this year, and he even beat Djokovic earlier this year on clay.
Yeah.
I don't think his grass court preparation was ideal. So I think I'll agree with Sankalp on that, and I think Karetsev would probably be upset.
Okay, that
Yeah,
means
there is high chance for Casper Wood as well. But yeah, there's so many people, yeah, in this draw that can also, yeah, lose it early. Fritz, yeah, anyone, yeah.
a small word on Songa.
Songa has been injured for long period of this year. He played French Open despite having injuries, and I'm not sure if he has won. Like he came out of second round. So yeah, I'm not having high expectations on Songa. He's not even seeded here. So yeah, he's been struggling with a lot of injuries, back injury. So yeah, not too many expectations on Songa. Maybe he'll get through the first round, but second round, I'm sure it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I agree. He played the French Open, lost in the first round. He played, I think, Eastbourne last week. He lost in the first round. He's been, I think, off the tour for quite some time right now, and he's just missing those matches to perform in the big stages. And Wimbledon, obviously being a Grand Slam, so I think it'll be difficult for him. I personally don't see him getting through the first round either, but yeah, uh, my expectations are not high for him.
So yeah, quarters matchup.
Yeah. So this I feel like is kind of straightforward here. I feel like Zverev and Berrettini both play really well on grass. Both have really good serve, really good forehands. Zverev has really good backhand. So I feel like Zverev versus Berrettini in quarterfinals is going to be a very good match. Probably a five-setter. So yeah, I'm expecting them to make it to quarters and give us an epic match.
Yeah, I think similar to quarter one, this third quarter is also a relatively straightforward quarter, where I think the top two seeds, Berrettini and Zverev, will come through. However, like in the previous quarters, I've been offering an alternative. So I think if I had to choose someone else, I think Zverev will definitely make it. But in the first quarter, I I think big servers have a potential of doing well,
Yeah,
and Isner, I don't think we can easily write off Isner. So I think if my second pick would be Zverev versus Isner, which would also be a really good match because
yeah.
you will see a lot of big serving there. But yeah, if not Zverev and Berrettini, I think it's going to be Isner and Zverev, with Zverev coming through.
Yeah, this brings my memory back to the longest match in the history, which Isner won, and that was in Wimbledon. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kiran. Was it played over 3 days period?
Yeah,
72 and
I
70
think
in the
the
five
total
fifth set.
duration of the match was like 11 hours or something. And I
Yeah,
think he won like 72-70 in the final set
correct.
against Nicholas Mahu. So that was,
Yeah,
yeah,
Nicholas
he does
Maho.
have history.
Yeah,
Which
he
So
led
could
let's
be
to
see.
a rule
inspired.
change as well.
Yeah, he could have an inspired run for sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let's slowly slip on to the fourth quarter as well, and it's
Yeah,
Federer's
the
quarter.
Federer's quarter. I
Anticipated
mean, though
quote.
it is yeah, though it is Medvedev's quarter, but like it's sentimental to see Federer back to Wimbledon. So yeah, Federer's quarter for me. So yeah,
Start with
let's
early
go.
popcorns as always.
So for me, like as soon as I see this quarter, I see two matches. One is Struff versus Medvedev. Struff versus Medvedev. Like honestly, like Struff is a really good player, and to have him play against Medvedev in the first round is tricky for both. Both would have expected to have a easier first rounds. So it's going to be a cracker of a match to see Struff versus Medvedev and Sam Querrey versus Karen Busta. I feel like that could be an interesting match to see how Sam Querrey is really good server. So I feel like I'll have my eye on that match for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, I think Sankalp hit it straight on the nail. So Medvedev versus Struff, definitely a really interesting match because 2 weeks ago, Struff actually beat Medvedev in the first round of a grass court tournament. So I know Medvedev's going to have that on the back of his mind.
Yeah,
But Medvedev is also coming in post a strong week with the title in Mallorca. So
yeah,
Medvedev is also going to be riding high on confidence. So yeah, I definitely don't think that's going to be a straightforward match for either of them. But just based on previous Grand Slam experience, I think Medvedev will come through that. And again, like I've been saying, big servers have an advantage here, and Sam Querrey is another big server. He also reached the final of Mallorca, losing to Medvedev in two straight sets. But
yeah,
I think that's definitely another popcorn match. And for the three of us who are born in the 1990s, we know how established of a player Verdasco is and Dimitrov. So I think, even though it might not be popcorn for like the Gen Z people, I think for us, that's a popcorn match because both of them have achieved well in their career as well. And they're
Yeah.
capable of playing good in the later stages of a Grand Slam. So I think these three matches are interesting first round matches.
Yeah, I just it reminded me of that 2009 Australian Open semi-final between Rafa and Verdasco. What a match that was! That was just like that was
Yeah,
an epic match. So
that's
yeah,
true.
so
Yeah.
Verdasco did
I
achieve
think,
a
I
lot
think
of things.
for you guys who don't know, so even though Sankalp is a right hander, he writes with his right hand, but he plays with his left hand. And so we used to constantly watch the highlights between Nadal and Verdasco, and he was really inspired by one of the banana shots in that match. Sankalp tries to do on the tennis court as well. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that match was probably one of Sankalp's favorite matches of the
yeah,
Australian
definitely.
Open.
Yeah,
I
but
think another
all those banana shots did not anywhere land up curvy.
I think
Yeah,
another interesting match, which is probably an underrated match, is Hercax versus Musetti. We know Musetti had a really good clay court season,
yeah,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but he took two sets of Djokovic in
yeah.
the
The first two sets in tiebreaker.
yeah.
Yeah, he
So
did.
he definitely has the potential, and Hercax has also won a tournament earlier this year. I think he won Miami this year, so I think that would be an interesting match as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like another match, I see it's going to be a very interesting match is Federer Manarino. Manarino has a very different style of play, right? Like he has his slices, backhand slice, forehand slice. He doesn't he doesn't give the ball like that easily. And in this kind of a surface, probably his slices can like irritate Federer's rhythm. So I feel like that, and you can see Gasquet being here also. So that's going to be a great match if Federer versus Gasquet happens.
Yeah, you should have seen Kiran's face when you said Federer versus
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that let's also talk about the dark horses in this quarter.
Considering that we have spoken about the early popcorn matches where Sam Querrey and Struff are part of, I feel like they are definitely dark horses in this tournament. If they can beat their first rounds, they're gonna have a really good Wimbledon. Their first rounds are seeded, and after that they have a really straightforward draw till the fourth round. So yeah, I'm expecting one of them to definitely make it to the fourth round.
Yeah, I think Sam Querrey is definitely a dark horse for me. I think he's always played well in Wimbledon, particularly his game suits grass. So Sam Querrey for me. Silic is seeded 32. I think it's the last seed for Wimbledon. But I would have to pick him as well, considering he's had a recent few good couple of weeks on the grass court. So despite being the last seed of Wimbledon, I think I would pick him as a dark horse to go
Yeah.
to have a couple good matches before he
Yeah.
potentially faces Medvedev.
My only concern with Silic is that like Silic is such an underconfident player. Like he really depends on his momentum to do well, and his loss in the last week in the early rounds of the tournament. I don't know how much of confidence he has, but I mean, I just hope that he has a good run, and if they can, Silic and Medvedev should be a great match as well.
Right.
Yeah. So which leads us into the upset alerts.
Yeah, same. I have to pick Carino Busta PCB as the upset alert here, considering he's playing against Sam Querrey. But one thing to note about PCB is that PCB like never gives up. Like he loves challenges and to play against really good players on any surface. So it should be a good match, and I think yeah, it's PCB will be on the losing end. So he's my upset alert.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, that's Karina Busta, obviously one of them for me. I think Hercax, he's seeded 14th. I don't see him going too far into Wimbledon, and having considering Musetti's recent form, I think Hercax is definitely my pick for an
Yeah,
upset.
Dimitrov might also, fall short. Yeah, it could be.
You guys
So
have
yeah,
covered most of the seeded players, so
yeah.
pick it for quarters final.
Uh, I mean, I would love to see Federer versus Medvedev. Federer has, I feel like Federer has a tougher draw here among, when compared to Djokovic. I'm sure it is a tougher draw. Federer plays Manarino, then he can play Gasquet, who is a two-time semi-finalist at Wimbledon. Then Nori, a British guy playing really well in third round, and fourth round is not going to be easy if Sam Querrey reaches there. So I feel like Federer will reach, but it's gonna take a lot of effort for him to reach the quarters. So it'll be Federer versus Medvedev, and Federer in 4 sets.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first week is going to be really critical for Federer. After his loss in Halle, I know that he was not in the right mindset. He took some time to, come to the post-match interview, and he agreed that he was not in the right mindset. But having watched his pre-tournament press conference, he's confident that he won't repeat the mistakes which he made in Halle and Wimbledon. And if that's coming from a 20-time Grand Slam and a great champion like him, I I feel that if he's able to come through the first week, I think he definitely has a chance to be in the quarters. So Federer and Medvedev are going to be my picks, but I
Okay.
I would want, despite being a huge Federer fan, it just doesn't look his recent results don't look that promising to me, and I'll have to go with Medvedev in five.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, as coming from a Federer fan, it's a big deal. I'm sure like you would have felt a lot of sadness when you said that, but yeah, it could potentially be considering Medvedev has won Eastbourne, and he is in good form and he wants to do well in Wimbledon. Considering he did not have his great time in clay, so yeah, that could happen. But I'm just hoping, I think if Federer can win his first four rounds, and he gets through those tough first four rounds, then I feel like he can take the challenge of Medvedev. So that's the reason I chose 4 sets Federer.
before
So
you
yeah.
go to the final weekend, so now that you talked about Federer, you also share your views about your favorite player and what happened and how do you feel about Nadal missing out? Uh,
Uh, yeah. So in Nadal's case, right? Like, I mean, the clay season was brutal for him. He clearly looked, exhausted by end of that semi-final. And he felt, considering that, he has always had issues in playing in Wimbledon with his knees, and also like he knows his chances might be very difficult because he's not in that shape to do well in Wimbledon. So like, I mean, Nadal is someone like, if he feels like he's not there 100%, he doesn't want to take it up. And historically, he has had matches where he had to take that challenge of going to the Grand Slam, and had to retire in the mid match, or before the match started. There is multiple instances like that. So now, after having a lot of years of experience, he realized that probably like going to Wimbledon wouldn't make sense for him, and also Olympics. So I'll definitely miss him, in Wimbledon. But I completely understand. I'm okay to see him play for more years than expecting him to be at Wimbledon. That's what he said when he said he didn't want to play Wimbledon and Olympics, which is because he wanted to have a longer career. So hopefully, this decision will help him uh, play for a few more years.
yeah, sure, and win few more Grand Slams as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so yeah, so now let's go to the final weekend predictions. Let's talk about the semi-finalists. What do you think? And the finalists. What do you think?
Yeah. So Djokovic versus Tsitsipas is the semi-final one in my case, and Zverev versus Federer, semi-final two. So I'll go with Djokovic in 3 sets, and I'm just hoping Federer wins in 4. So I want a Djokovic versus Federer final. And I'm like really geared up for that. I hope like it meets my expectations. But yeah, so yeah, what do you think, Kiran?
So yeah, from the first two quarters, I think my picks were Djokovic and Tsitsipas. Um, I think Djokovic will come through in three straight sets. What we saw in the French Open, we know the rallies are longer on clay and things like that, but I don't think Djokovic will give that much of an opportunity on grass
Yeah,
with Tsitsipas. So I see Djokovic reaching the final in three straight sets. And from the third and fourth quarter, my picks were Zverev and Medvedev. Um, that's another tough one. I know they've had difficult matches in the past as well, but I feel Medvedev will come through in four sets. So I know the whole entire tennis world wants a Djokovic versus Federer final.
yeah,
2019 final was heartbreaking for most of the Federer fans, despite him having match points on his
match
own
points.
serve. He couldn't pull through. So, I think the whole tennis world wants a rematch of that and wants to see Federer, win, Grand Slam, considering he's almost about to turn 40 in August. But yeah, my pick would be Djokovic versus Medvedev in the final, and yeah, I think Djokovic will prevail and get it.
Yeah.
This is really
Djokovic versus Federer is also going to be as straightforward as Djokovic versus Medvedev, and Djokovic. So I feel like Djokovic has this amazing opportunity to win without losing a set. It's not that Djokovic, like Djokovic is favorite in any tournament he enters, right? He is a number one seed. He's playing well. He has won a lot of Grand Slams, and he's always be as
and
the one who is a favorite.
I mean, last week he was in doubles and he reached the finals, but he had to
Yeah,
withdraw because his opponent was injured.
right.
It seems like whatever he's touching is gold these
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
It's
There's no
really
stopping.
past him right now.
Yeah, the thing is like he is he's just like cut above everyone else, right? And everyone, it's not that other people are playing bad, other people are playing as they used to play, and Djokovic is just in a league of his own. And like with Nadal also not being there, there is no like real contender for Djokovic. It's not that Nadal was going to be a real contender in Wimbledon, but at least there would always be this chance that we have seen in the past that Nadal could give some fight to Djokovic. But this is going to be a straightforward, like I feel like 21 sets, 21 wins for Djokovic, and so yeah, it's going to be heartbreaking to see Djokovic beat Federer. I hope a lot of Federer fans would want, if Djokovic is winning, it doesn't win against Federer. But a classic, as a tennis fan, I would just love to see a Djokovic versus Federer in the final.
A lot of breadsticks in between might be possible.
Yeah, breadsticks, bagels are going to happen. Yeah, for sure. They are especially there in UK, so it's gonna make a lot of sense.
So your thoughts, Kiran, final thoughts on how you, I mean, I think you already summarized it. The interesting part in your summary was you wanted a rematch of Federer and Djokovic, and you finally got, you were saying Medvedev. So yeah, that was an interesting one. So yeah, even I'm looking for a great Wimbledon this year because as we already said, it's happening after a break. After a long time, we got a break after World War II. Last year was a break, so even I'm really excited this time to see. And my prediction for the final, I mean, I would be biased if I go with Seppi, but I'll go with uh, Djokovic for sure. Yeah, and yeah, I want a Djokovic versus Federer final as well. So
Yeah,
let's see.
hopefully Federer wins one set. Yeah. So that's it. Like we've reached the end of the tournament, and it's a Djokovic win, like every other tournament that we predicted.
Yeah, unlike French Open.
Vamshi would be really happy. Vamshi would be really happy to see our predictions.
Yeah, we praised Djokovic, both Kiran and you yourself
Yeah.
were praising Djokovic a lot, so he will be very happy. and he'll be very happy to if Djokovic finally makes it as well. Okay, on that note, yeah, thanks, thank you everyone. So thanks everyone for watching our videos. If you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Like, share this video as well. So yeah, thanks Kiran, thanks Sankalp for joining. And today I had a lot of fun talking with both of you. And you gave pretty good insights as well uh, on how difficult it is to change from clay to grass as well. So yeah, thank you Sankalp, thanks Kiran. We'll again meet after Wimbledon to see how our predictions went.
Absolutely. I'm sure, considering how tricky it is to play in Wimbledon and the upset alerts, I am not having a lot of expectations on my predictions. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, everyone gear up for the season of strawberries and cream, and hopefully we enjoy a fortnight of tennis starting from tomorrow.
And he's
Yeah,
still
thank
on
you so much.
Federer's side.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, thanks guys. Thank you.
All right.